tip. If I had to immigrate from the UK today, I'd pick a place where I don't need to wear shoes. Seriously, we've got to talk about shoes. If you're watching this from South Africa and considering moving to the UK, bear in mind you are going to have to wear shoes. Whipping them off in the middle of London on a frosty morning is just not considered normal behaviour here. Trust me, I've tried it. Welcome to our channel. I'm Deb, and today I'm going to consider what I'd do if I had to immigrate from the UK now. Moving to the UK was one of the most rewarding and fulfilling things that we've ever done. It was also one of the hardest, most emotional, difficult and lonely things that we've done. But above all, it was a learning curve, the steepest that you can imagine, and there's so much I wish that we'd understood before we moved. Not because forewarning would have changed our decision to move, but because it would have made us better prepared for what was coming and perhaps better able to even avoid the pitfalls along the way. I think when one makes a decision to leave somewhere, there is an inevitable trade-off. And only you can decide the trade that you're prepared to make. But often when we make those trades, we don't fully appreciate what it is that we're trading. And this might sound such an obvious point as to be almost mute, but in the thick of things, it's really easy to get it wrong. If I was to immigrate now, this is where I would probably start, and I would do so with a personal caution around confirmation bias. Sometimes we imagine things will be easier or better in another place because we're dissatisfied or unhappy with where we are. And we become so desperate to fix the problem that consciously or unconsciously we start to look for information that confirms what we believe. And this can leave us very unprepared for what the reality is of what we're going into. I think what I would probably do is to try and avoid this trap would be to make a list of all the things I think are positive about leaving the UK and all the things I think are positive about the country I want to move to. And I'd then ask somebody objective to disprove every point on that list. Hopefully somewhere between the two lists we could find a middle ground that would give us a more realistic perspective of the trade that we were thinking of making. When you move from one country to another, even if your personal beliefs and your culture are closely aligned, it's a lot like being a guest in another family's home. That family could be a close relative, but ultimately it's their home. It takes respect, it takes time, engagement, patience to become part of that home. No matter how welcoming, gracious or kind and beautiful your hosts might be, you have to find your place in that home without disrupting it, whilst functioning productively within it, before you can become more than a guest. And this can be a lonely and confusing and miserable time if you let it, but it doesn't have to be. Because when you start to positively contribute to your community, your sense of belonging and inclusion will follow very quickly, as will your new community's acceptance of you. So I think if I were to do this all again, instead of just waiting for this process to take place, I would definitely do more to make it so, rather than waiting for it to become so. The moment you leave one country for another, you will be forever torn between two places. No matter how much you love one and dislike another, there's always going to be something in the one that you aren't in that you miss. It's human nature. And I think acknowledging that this is a normal part of the process can actually help to keep you focused on the place that you are in rather than where you have come from. So I hope these few ideas have been of some help to you guys. It's not an easy thing to do, but it is something that you can do if you really want to do it. So with that, thanks for being here, and I hope you've found some value in these thoughts. Until the next time, keep your memories close, but keep those around you closer. Deb out.